Hi everyone, this is a review of citing evidence when using evidence to support a claim or thesis statement in an essay or an analysis. Citing evidence is required when we write. It's required that writers cite the sources of their evidence. What will happen if a writer doesn't cite their evidence? Well, their writing will not be taken seriously. They can be accused of plagiarism. In school, it means you get an F on the paper. In college, it could mean that you get kicked out of the class or get kicked out of college. In some cases, it could lead to loss of employment. There was a superintendent in Winona schools who was caught plagiarizing his doctorate dissertation. Parts of his doctorate dissertation were plagiarized. He lost his doctorate degree and he lost his job. And then on top of that, he lost all of his professional credibility. So citing our evidence is not something that English teachers make you do because we're picky. It's something that we make you do because it's something that you have to do if you want to be taken seriously with your writing. So let's do a quick review on how and why we do it, okay? So we cite evidence to give power to our argument. We cite evidence to avoid plagiarism. And I'm hoping you remember how we cite evidence. We use MLA format. MLA means Modern Language Association. It is an organization that set forth rules to standardize what essays look like when they are typed out on paper or word processed on a computer. So let's take a look. Okay, so remember our untitled flash fiction about Amelia, the story about the little boy in foster care? And remember we talked about a theme for that story. The theme, sometimes it does not take a lot of time to form close emotional connections with another person, and the impact of that connection can sometimes last longer than the connection itself. That was a theme that I offered as a sample theme in what we did in class today. Here is the sample thesis statement I shared with you earlier in class today. And the thesis statement is, even though she was only with the boy a short time, Amelia knows that the emotional connection they formed with each other will stay with the boy long after he's forgotten her. So I have my theme. I developed that universal theme into a text-specific, arguable thesis statement. And now I'm going to write a short analysis about that flash fiction based on this thesis statement about my theme. So here is the start of a paragraph about that thesis statement. Even though she was only with the boy a short time, Amelia knows that the emotional connection they formed with each other will stay with the boy long after he's forgotten her. That's my thesis statement. I didn't take up space in this example to give you a full-out introduction. And for the writing that we're going to be doing, we don't really need an introduction. A thesis statement will suffice. Amelia's belief in her connection with the boy is forged in the time she spent with the boy. Amelia ran her hand up and down his back. Notice that's in quotations. That means I took that right out of the text. These 3 dots here mean that I left some of the text out, mostly to save space, because this is a slide and not an essay paper. Okay, so I'll start that sentence again. Amelia's belief in her connection with the boy is forged in the time she spent with the boy. Amelia ran her hand up and down his back, and her embrace got him to sleep in just a few minutes. And I have 2 different quotations within the same sentence. They're just phrases taken out of the story. And I'm citing the page number. Now, granted, this flash fiction is only 1 page long. And so I just named it page 1, right? But I'm citing where I got it. If I have a works cited listing for this, then I would include the other information about it, like where I found it. If you remember, this is untitled and it also has no author. So it's maybe not the best text to use as an example, but what you can see here is how I wove the evidence from my text, which is in quotation marks, into my paragraph and how I'm citing it. The next sentence, Amelia gave the boy her love and attention, creating an emotional bond between the two of them. This emotional bond is one that protected the boy in his time of uncertainty. This is a bond the boy won't forget. So I have my thesis statement at the top. Then I have a sentence that talks about a connection being forged with the boy. And then I give evidence for how Amelia created that connection, right? She comforted him by rubbing her hand up and down his back. She embraced him so he could sleep at night. And then I have 3 sentences of commentary or analysis. The last 3 sentences of this slide are really an explanation for how those 2 pieces of evidence, those 2 quoted phrases, prove my thesis statement. Here is the rest of that paragraph. It is implied that the boy's life is one of fear and insecurity. Amelia gives him her love and a safe place to live. He changed from a boy who screamed and cried at night to a boy whose laughter vibrated through the house. Again, I've got evidence from the story showing how he changed. Amelia notices that he laughs a lot with her. They are emotionally connected even after just a short time together. When it is time for the boy to return to his family from foster care, he squeezed her hand back. Amelia's heart swelled. So I've taken another piece of evidence from that story and cited it, and now I'm going to explain how it proves they had a close bond. Amelia knows they are connected. She knows that the love and safety she gave the boy will be with him because as she knows at his departure, she will always be his, proving that she willingly connects with the boy despite the pain of watching him leave. So all along I've got my thinking, I have evidence to support my thinking, and then I have an explanation for how that evidence connects to the thesis statement. And again, I have my thinking, I have the evidence to support my thinking, and then I have an explanation for how that evidence supports my thesis. And so that's the kind of pattern that you're going to be doing in the analysis writing that you do for the assessment coming up, as well as for the writing that we do throughout the year. Your thinking, evidence to support it, and explanation for how the evidence supports your thinking. So it all boils down to this. You start with a theme, that universal idea or message or lesson that you recognize in the story, something that can be applied to everyone. Then you take that theme and you draft or create a thesis statement that is text specific, which means you have to talk about the text, right? It uses language from the theme. It is arguable, defensible, and provable. Okay, those 3 parts of that thesis statement. Then you find evidence from your text that helps to prove that thesis statement. And the most important part of the essay is that analysis and commentary where you are explaining how the evidence proves and supports your thesis statement. I'm hoping that this was a little bit helpful to you as just a quick review for our MLA and citing our sources in our writing. Good luck on the assessment.